Good evening, everybody. Welcome into the Confident Autistic live stream. I am your host, the Confident Autistic. Thank you for tuning in. July 30th, 2026, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time, and we're underway. So if you're watching this live, let me know you're there. Just, say hello, whatever. Just let me know. Oh, I know what's going on. Okay. All right. Anyway, let's get into tonight's episode. Uh, My fellow Confident Autistics, I am the Confident Autistic, but you can call me Chris. And on this channel, I create videos and more that will help you better understand autism, connect you with resources that can help you through your autistic journey, and I share my life as a late diagnosed autistic adult. And this is the Confident Autistic live stream, a weekly live stream where I interact with you and other adults on a late autism journey. Yes, thank you for tuning in tonight. So let me know where you're watching from tonight, okay? And be somewhat specific, not too specific. I mean, like you could say, I'm watching from Southwest Missouri, I'm watching from St. Louis. If you really want to be very specific, you could say, I'm watching from my home office, I'm watching from my living room, my car, or whatever. But do not give out your home address. Please do not do that. We want to make sure everybody's safe out there, right? Yeah, so don't do that. So, yeah, just drop into chat where you're watching from. And good evening. Hello, Vance. Thank you for joining us tonight. Now, before we get into today's episode, if you have been following my post in the community section, um, this week's been a rough week for me. My cat, Junior, is 16 years with me, or our cat, because mine and Kim's uh, passed away Monday. I was actually put down because he had cancer. And as I posted on YouTube this past week, cancer sucks. First, it took my wife, now it took our cat. So I want to thank everyone who expressed their condolences and sympathies and encouraged me to take as much time as I needed before I come back to doing videos and live streams and the such. So thank you very much for all of those who um, who sent their well wishes to me this week. I truly appreciate that, and I do miss him. It's kind of weird. This is the first time in 25 years, 6 months, and 5 days. Yes, I'm that focused in on counting, okay? Uh, and focusing on counting that I've not been a pet owner. Over a quarter of a century, I was a pet owner. So it's weird. And yes, Vance, you're from Kentucky. I'm here in Missouri. So anyway, thank you for everyone's support this week. It's been a little bit of a challenging week adjusting and having to and I know it's gonna sound like I'm complaining, and maybe I am a little, but the thing is that uh I had I just bought now because he's diabetic, I bought some cat food for him, and it's expensive. So this last month, I spent about $150 in cat food for him because he's diabetic, and now he's gone, and I got all this cat food here. So I don't know, but anyway, I do miss him. And it was pretty sudden because around the 4th of July, well, he saw the vet in June 25th. The 4th of July, he was still pretty active and all. The week of the 13th of July, he was still coming in the office, hopping up on my desk and walking across my keyboard and getting over to the side to lay down. And then the following week, about the 20th, he stopped doing that. And every once in a while, cats change their habits. So I did not think much about it. But he went downhill really quick. And I did get to feel the mass, and it was large. It was just really large. And there was nothing they could do for him because of his diabetes. The treatment for the cancer would have caused, I guess, his diabetes got a whack and he would have died from that. Or we treat the diabetes and he's going to die from cancer, a very painful death. So we made the difficult but right decision to let him go after 16 years. So, again, thank you for everyone's support this week. It's really meant a lot to me. Now, on to tonight's episode. of the Confident Autistic Live. Tonight is a live Q&A stream called Ask the Confident Autistic Anything about autism and aging. But first, let me there we are. But first, if you are new here, this is a safe space, a judgment-free zone where we can better understand ourselves and each other and start living confidently autistic. So let's talk about the subscriber count, okay? Last week it was at 378. Tonight it's at 384. We got 6 new subscribers this week. Thank you so very much for subscribing to the channel. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you who do subscribe to the channel, and it means a lot to me. And you can do your part in helping this channel grow, our channel grow, because not just mine, it's our channel. And that's very simple by liking this video. All you have to do is go to the video, underneath the video that's playing right now, and hit the little like button. I just did it myself. Okay. Comment if you're watching live. That's super. If you're watching this when it's recorded, go ahead and comment. Those things help the channel grow. And of course, share this video with people that you know that could benefit from this. And the best way you can help this channel grow, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And when you do, make sure you turn on notifications so you'll be notified when I publish new videos and when I go live right here on this channel. And our goal is to have 1,000 subscribers, probably sometime this fall, but our near-term goal is 500 by Labor Day. And we're on our way there. We'll see if we make it, okay? But we're not giving up. We're going to keep this thing going. Now we have a gift. This is my last week of offering this gift on the live stream. And last week to grab it, so you don't grab it now, it's going to be going away, okay? This is called Live Confidently Autistic, a guide to understanding yourself and building confidence. In this guide, you'll learn how to embrace, I like doing that, embrace your neurodivergence with pride, overcome self-doubt and build lasting confidence, and navigate life authentically and unapologetically. Now, you can grab your copy one or two ways. You can grab your copy by scanning the QR code that's on the screen. But if you are on your phone, it's kind of hard to scan it, isn't it? So I'm putting a link there in the chat. There's also a link to it in the video description. And we have some chat activity. So let's just see who that is. Okay, Jenny's here for a short while. Wanted to pop in. I had a few minutes. Well, thank you for popping in and doing joining us, even if it's for a while. Hey, I appreciate your time coming in and doing this. Now, I'll tell you something, Jenny, and anyone else who's popping in. You got to pop out. I get it. Dinner time, evening, family responsibilities. I get that. This is a video you're going to want to come back to and watch later when you do have more time. So, let's do that. So it's going to be a great video. In fact, it's so good. Let me just explain something to you about this video. When I came up with this idea, I did about 2 weeks ago. I'm trying to get my camera on. There we are. When I came up with this idea about 2 weeks ago, I thought this would be a great idea. I came up with 10 questions and all. And then as I gave it a lot more thought and did some research, if I fully answered every single question that I have tonight, this live stream would run until midnight Central Time, 5 hours probably. So we're going to go through these 10 questions. I'm going to touch upon them, but be looking forward. And make sure you subscribe to the channel because I'm going to be taking a deep dive on each of these 10 questions in the coming weeks and months on Mondays when I drop my video on Monday. So yes, please make sure that you are watching out for that because there is so much information. I thought there's no way I can do this in 1 hour and do it justice. So I'm touching upon them, and bam, we're going to do deep dives a little bit later. Let's see what's going on in chat. Okay. Yes, I agree, Jenny. That's one of the reasons I did this. This is a much needed topic. There's a lot of stuff out there for autism, a lot for kids and parents of kids, which is great because kids are our future. We need to take care of the kids. But there's not much out there for those of us who are late diagnosed, especially those of us who are aging. Well, we're all aging, but I mean, some of us are aging at a bit higher number than others. So let's get into tonight's list with the first question. Does autism change as we get older? Okay. And you can give me your opinion uh, in the chat. And by the way, you have any questions, pop them in there and I will try to answer them at the end of the live stream if we have time. So, does autism change as we get older? A lot of autistic adults wonder this question if the autism is becoming more noticeable or if they're simply losing the ability to compensate like they did when we were younger. And the answer, this question that many autistic adults have, especially those that in the diagnosed later in life, we often quickly wonder, am I changing or is my autism changing? The short answer is autism itself does not appear to suddenly change as we get older, but the way autism affects our lives can change significantly. Remember, autism is a lifelong neurodevelopmental difference. The autistic brain we have at the age of 60, which I'm at that age, it's the same autistic brain we had when we were 10, 30, 50, and all the years between. What changes is the combination of our body, the environment, mixed in with the experiences that we've lived through in our lives, the responsibilities that we have at our current age, and the strategies we have available to kind of manage our autism, to self-regulate, to mask, etc. So does autism change as we get older? The autism itself doesn't, but how it challenges us. I don't want to say affects because that makes, to me, that's victim mentality. I say it challenges us, gets different because our life situation is changing. For anyone, whether we're neurodiverse or neurotypical, as we get older, life becomes more challenging. Now, here are some of the biggest ways autism may feel different as we age. The cost of coping may become more noticeable. Sensory needs may change. Routines may become more important. I cannot tell you how true that is for me. I mean, if you've been around for a while and you know my wife passed away, and I am trying so hard to get a routine because without a routine, I am just I'm not functioning. Okay, I'm just not. I got to get a routine going. Executive functioning may require more support as we age. Self-awareness often increases. Now, I think self-awareness increases for two reasons. Okay, and I got two bottles of water, grabbing the wrong one. One, the self-awareness increases because we're aging. Okay, we all become aware of ourselves more. But I also feel it's accelerating, at least in my opinion, or my experience, because I found out I was late diagnosed autistic 2 years ago. And I went through that process before self-identifying and all that stuff that led up to my diagnosis. So I became more self-aware because I realized I'm on the spectrum, got diagnosed. So yes, your awareness increases, especially once, this is again my opinion, once you get a late diagnosis. Life circumstances can change how autism feels. And a helpful way to think about this is this. Autism is the same operating system we've had all our lives. The hardware, the demands, and the environment is changing. It's changed. And the hardware being our body. We may have more aches and pains. We're feeling things we did not feel before. We realize, when we were kids and we were riding our bicycles without any hands and jumping and skinning up our knees and, spraining our ankles and all and playing sports, those checks we wrote, they're coming due. Let's take a look at next question here. Why does life seem harder now than it did when I was younger? Now, many autistic adults, especially those diagnosed in later in life, do ask this question. And the answer is usually not that we have become weaker or that we're losing our abilities. Often it is that the demands, circumstances, and available energy have changed. Kind of touched upon that in the other question, but here it is again. Here are some of the reasons life can feel harder as we get older. We may have spent decades running on compensation. Many late diagnosed autistic adults survived adulthood by developing incredible coping strategies. As we age, many people find they simply have less energy available for constant adaptation. And then the question becomes less, why can't I do what I used to do? And more, how much energy did it take me to do that before? Also, our responsibility may have changed and become heavier. For example, and some of these I'm going through myself. I'm taking care of my aging mom. My father passed away. My mom is 87, and I'm having to take care of my aging mom. And then I have my own health concerns. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Okay, so I have some of those concerns going on. Loss of loved ones. Okay, I mean, I sat down today and thought about all the relatives I knew from my childhood, and I realized in my 60 years of life, 15 people that I can name off the top of my head that I knew in my family from birth have passed away. And that's like one every 4 years, okay? And that's not even counting my wife. You count my wife, that's 16. Then changes in mobility. Now, I had a head start in that change in mobility when I had my incomplete spinal cord injury. But even though I'm 60 now, some of the things I was able to do a couple of years ago with my limited mobility is getting more challenging. And financial decisions, if you get to 60 or thereabouts and you're coming towards that point in your life, you realize, okay, retirement may be coming. Do I have enough to retire on? What am I going to do? What expenses do I have to cut? And you have to make different types of financial decisions. All of these things drain energy from our batteries and makes it harder for us to uh, overcome the challenges autism places in our life. And of course, more medical appointments and major life transitions. Like in my case, it's been a major life transition losing my wife, and now I'm going through another one. I was not through going through that one when I lost my cat, another life transitions. And these items I just mentioned are not small stressors. They require emotional, physical, and mental resources. Of course, your nervous system may also have been under stress for a long time. And when you have a lot of stress in your life, recovery can take longer, whether it be stress, sensory overload, etc. Recovery from those things can take longer. And as you get older, we understand ourselves better than we did when we were earlier. Okay? We do. And of course, we may be grieving what we carried alone. And this means we may be grieving and not sharing it with others, probably we should, the opportunities we missed, mistakes that we made, etc., friendships that we lost that may have been caused because of our autism that we did not know about, and we're grieving over that. The opportunities we feel or perceive we missed in life because of a late diagnosis of autism. Number three, is autistic burnout more common as we age? Well, I think it is. Because of all the things I mentioned earlier, I really do. There's so much going on in our lives. It just, it's just a lot to deal with, and and it's just more and more that we have going on, and so it's going to cause more burnout. We have less energy. We have less coping abilities. All the stuff I mentioned earlier. Bada bing, bada boom. It is going to cause more burnout. Now I'm going to pause for a second and check on what's going on in the chat. You guys have been busy in here. This is much needed. Okay, I believe so. Sensory sensitivities get stronger, don't you think? Oh, yes, I do. One of the things, I'm glad you brought that up, Jenny. One of the things that went through my mind, I've been battling, okay? I have more trouble with noise and light, okay? Especially noise, okay? And the smells and all. And there's something we talk about sometimes in the autistic community, especially late diagnosed, is imposter syndrome. And for me, I'm thinking, am I having more trouble with noise and lights and stuff because I'm authentically having it, or because I'm aware I'm autistic and I'm looking for it, or I'm in my mind creating it so I can convince myself I'm truly on the spectrum? But the research I've done shows us that as we age, the things that are sensory triggers for us or may cause sensory overload or overwhelm, whatever, they're there, but they're more apparent to us because as we get older, we'll get worn down. I mean, we're slowing down. Cognitive abilities may go downhill, and it's going to become more apparent to us. Doesn't mean that we are faking it because we are now more sensitive to noise than we were when we were kids. I don't think so. I think it's just because of the fact that we're aging and it's just a change that we go through. So I'm glad you brought that up, Jenny. I wanted to talk about that tonight. And let's see, we have somebody, Special K, I believe. Hi, welcome. Where are you watching from, Special K? Love to know. Okay. Hello, let's see. My recovery was a much slower. Where are you from? La, 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 me too. I need to make a video on that topic. I feel like I'm being inspiring someone tonight. That's a good feeling. Okay, imposter syndrome. Yes, we talked about that. Okay, so you got to go, Jenny. Please come back and watch the rest of this video because we only got through three of the questions. You're gonna miss some really good stuff. So please come back and join us. Watch it at your convenience because it'll be up here on the channel. The fourth question: do autistic adults need more support as they get older? Simply put, yes. But then again, whether you're neurotypical or neurodiverse, as we get older, everyone needs more support. Some may need more than others, but we all will need more support. So, yes, for many autistic adults, support needs actually increase with age, even though autism itself is lifelong and does not necessarily get worse. So for years there was very limited research on autistic aging because most studies focused on children. That's finally beginning to change, and researchers are finding several important patterns. And some of them include a lifetime of masking. That's going to wear on us. We can't continue doing that. You know, I don't know if anyone told you this when you're younger. This is something I believed. Let's say you're in high school and the person that you're really interested in, you find out, oh, they really like well, back in the day, Star Wars, and maybe you're not a Star Wars fan, but you're gonna fake that you love Star Wars and all this stuff to be with them. You can't do that your entire life. Sooner or later that's going to go away. And just like our abilities to mask real easily, as we get older, that gets harder. And I'm at the age where I'm like, screw it. I don't care anymore. I'll mask when I can. And if I can't, I don't care. I just wear t-shirts and stuff that says I'm autistic on it. So let people think what they want about me. That's their opinion, not mine. So anyway, changes in the brain and body. We talked about that earlier. Cognitive skills can decline as we get older. Our body may have new pains and health challenges. Additionally, executive functioning becomes more difficult as we age. That can contribute to needing more support and greater sensory sensitivities. Oh man, I noticed that so much. I mean, uh, I used to love, and I still do, love listening to 80s music, and I would listen to that all the time. Now that annoys me to a point when most of the day I'm listening to autism relaxing music because my sensory sensitivities are changing. Maybe it's the stress I'm under, I don't know, but yeah, that does happen. And of course, we talked about this earlier, why we may need more support. major life transitions, retirement, losing a spouse. These are some major life transitions. Moving, becoming a caregiver, or changes in health can disrupt routines that helped us function well for decades. And let me look through this list again. Retirement, I cannot picture myself retiring. Okay. I cannot picture me being a person that does nothing but sit around in my pajamas all day, watching court TV and, yelling at the TV set. Okay. But I've lost a spouse. I have become a caregiver and there've been changes in my health. And these all disrupted my routines. So I got 3 out of 5 here. So I need more support than I used to. And I'm kind of up a creek right now because my safe person who always supported me, my wife, has passed away. So let's go to question number 5 here. And that's, how does masking affect autistic adults as we age? Many late diagnosed autistic adults wonder if years of masking contributed to exhaustion, anxiety, or losing touch with their authentic selves. This is one of the most important and least talked about aspects of aging as an autistic adult. This is what I want you to hear. This is the important part. As we age, our energy reserves naturally decline. Aging affects everyone, both neurodiverse and neurotypical. But for those of us autistic adults who have spent decades masking, there's often less energy left to keep up the performance. And some of us describe it as, I just can't pretend anymore. And when we say pretend, you could put the word, I just can't mask anymore. Okay. Life demands often increase. At the same time, masking becomes harder. Many older adults are juggling careers, aging parents, their own health conditions. We talked about that before, financial concerns, caregiving responsibilities, and or grief. And these demands consume the same mental resources that masking has relied on for years. So now the resources that we use inside of ourselves for masking are now being used for other projects. It's like a computer, okay? You have so much RAM in there and memory, and you used to use it for just Microsoft Word, and computer ran fine, but now you're using Word, you're using PowerPoint, you're on the internet, you're checking your email, you're chatting with people, you may be in a Zoom conference all at once, and that makes your computer get slow, and it cannot do the things it used to do as well as it did before because you're asking it to do a lot more. Now, the solution for a computer is maybe buy a new computer that has more RAM or more power or whatever. You can't buy a new body and do that. So that's where we kind of get stuck here, isn't it? So many autistic adults eventually decide that continuing to mask isn't worth the cost. And I'm one of them. I'm like, I'm done masking. Okay. Like me, don't like me, I don't care. It's just where we are. And okay, Jenny, thank you for holding the video. I'm checking out the chat right now. And good night to you, Jenny. I think I'm aware of much more now, and it fills my working memory that can lead to fatigue and overload. Yes, I totally relate with that. Yes, I do. I can relate to that. All right, let's go to question number 6 here. And that question is, are sensory issues different for autistic adults as they get older? What do you think the answer is going to be? Think it's going to be yes? Do you think it's going to be no? Or you don't know? All right, here comes the answer. Yes, but probably not in the way that many people think. The research doesn't show that autism itself becomes more sensory sensitive with age. Instead, many autistic adults report that their sensory experiences change and often become more difficult to manage. I'm experiencing that right now. I share a house with my mom. I take care of her. She takes care of me a little bit. It's a mutual thing. She's 87. I'm 60, and she has the TV on 24 hours a day. My wife had the TV on 24 hours a day. And I get up in the morning and I go into the kitchen, which is next to her room, and I hear her TV, and it's like today I was in there cooking something. I put my hands over my ears and like, no more, turn off the TV, please. I can't handle the noise. It was like I felt like I was being attacked by noise. I don't know. Has that ever happened to you? Let me know because I don't want to feel like I'm the only person that had that problem. So yes, our many autistic adults report that their sensory experiences change and often become more difficult to manage, especially when other age-related changes and life stresses are added, which I can attest to that. But the life stress of losing my wife, my cat, trying to figure out what I'm going to do with the rest of my life, being a caregiver, concerned about my own health. I'm not going to go too deep into this, but I may have to make a trip to St. Louis this year for some health related issues. So, more about that a little bit later. But and so, yeah, this is making probably adding to me having less of a tolerance of sensory overload. So sensory overwhelm may happen more easily as we age. Many older autistic adults find they reach sensory overload faster than they did in their 20s and 30s. Oh, yeah, I can attest to that. If you can agree with that, yeah, raise your hand. Let me know. I know that I tolerate things a lot better when I was 20 or 30 than I can at the age of 60. Let me go peek on the chat here. Okay. I can definitely feel the impact of noise more now than when I was younger. Yeah, yeah. Now there's, I don't know if I should say this, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's never stopped me before. Why let it stop me now, right? Okay. One thing that we could look forward to if noise is bothering us that much, hearing loss. See, okay, hearing loss is not a good thing. Nobody wants that, right? But you got to look for the bright side in every situation. Sure, I'm losing my hearing, but I no longer have sensory overload from a lot of noise. Just saying, just a thought. You can like it, you can disagree with it. It's okay with me. Question number 7. How can autistic adults prepare for aging while staying independent? This is a very important one. I really wanted to talk about this. And like I said, on all these questions, I will be doing full deep dives into videos coming up later this summer and into the fall. And so this question, how can autistic adults prepare for aging while staying independent? This brings in a practical conversation about routines, support systems, health, finances, and self-advocacy. Now, the thing that a lot of us get confused on is the definition of the word independence. And a lot of us, we think of it this way because when we're kids, you learn how to tie your shoes. You can now, feed yourself, cook your own food. And your parents say you're becoming very independent because you're doing things on your own. But independence doesn't mean that you are doing everything by yourself. One of the biggest mindset shifts is recognizing that acceptance or accepting help isn't the opposite of independence. We all think of that, okay? Many of us would think about, well, if I'm asking for help or somebody's helping me, I'm truly not independent. Well, we are, okay? I mean, if we were not meant to ask for help, if we could do everything all on our own, why did God put 8 billion people on the planet? That's what I always say. Excuse me. A person who uses meal delivery. I use grocery delivery and I use DoorDash, okay? Calendar reminders. I've been doing that for years. Mobility aids. I've been doing that for 24 years. Or transportation services like public transportation or cabs may actually remain independent longer than someone who refuses these supports until they're in crisis. So there's no embarrassment in asking for help. Okay, this is one thing it took me many years to learn. Okay, and a lot of hard knocks from the school of hard knocks to teach me that asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It can help you be independent. Okay, we all need a little help at times. So for many autistic adults, independence is better thought of as being able to direct your own life, even if you use tools, technology, or other people to help accomplish certain tasks. So I look upon my life now that I know what I want to achieve, and I know I'm going to need some help with it. And I work with people. I'm not really fond of interacting with people at times, but I can work with people and plan. I'm really good at logistics. I don't know about others that are on the spectrum, but I know I'm good at logistics and planning them out. Okay. And I love buses. It's one of my favorite things. And when I lived in California, the bus system here sucks. Okay. To be honest with you, here where I live, here, it's not a bus, it's a bus joke. But I lived in a community where we had like 16, 17, 18 routes. I had them memorized and I could answer questions faster than most drivers. When a passenger asked the driver, how do I get here to point B? What bus do I have to catch and where do I get off at and when did that come? I don't know. I'm just really good at that. Memorizing schedules is one thing I love doing. Um, so yeah, but being independent does not mean we do everything on our own. Being independent is we direct our life even if we have to use tools, technology, and other people to help accomplish a certain task. I mean, look how successful big companies are. That's that's not one person doing it. It's a team. Okay, a baseball team or a football team, or any sports. It's a team sport. It takes more than one person to be successful. Even if your favorite baseball player leads the league in batting average, he did not do that alone. He had coaches, he had mentors, he had role models that encouraged him and taught him how to do that. Okay, because no one achieves success or independence completely on their own. I mean, when America got its independence, it took all of us together working together to gain our independence from Britain and King George, I believe it was. I don't know. I don't know my English. I barely know my presidents. Okay. Anyway, you get the point. Number 8, why are transitions and major life changes harder as we get older? That's a very, very good question. And let me dive into this here to some extent. Transitions are one of the areas where many autistic adults notice a bigger difference as we get older. It's not that autistic adults or that we suddenly become unable to handle change. Rather, several things can happen at the same time. The brain has fewer resources available for adaptation. Life changes become more complex, and the routines that once provided stability may be disrupted. Now, here are some of the reasons transitions can become harder with our age. Number one, routines become more deeply connected to stability. I've always liked routines, but as I notice as I get older, the better routines I have, and if I stick to them, I have less um, I have less time I have to spend um, self-regulating because that does it for me. And I notice I'm needing that routine more today than I did when I was in my 20s, and because I'm also ADHD. In my 20s, each day I wanted it to be a little bit different. I liked the variety. Okay, I did. It was kind of fun. And all, and you're in college, you only have class Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Got to do something else Tuesday, Thursday, whatever, right? Or different classes Tuesday, Thursday, whatever it is. Now I want every single day to be the exact same day. What is frustrating to me is weekends because Saturday and Sunday are different creatures than Monday through Friday. And I'm like, I'm lost, but I'm working on a special routine just for Saturday and one for Sunday. So hopefully that helps stabilize things for me. Number 2, we may have less mental flexibility available. Everyone experiences some changes in processing speed and cognitive flexibility with aging. We talked about that earlier. It's just a natural part of life, okay? I was watching a video the other day, and many professions like pilots, etc., um, have mandatory retirement age of 64 to 65 because of cognitive decline. The third aspect I want to talk about right here is major life changes carry more emotional weight. And that's because changes later in life often aren't small changes. I mean, you're younger, small change may be, okay, you know what? I'm getting a new car. All right. I have this nice car, but I'm getting a new car. Now it has this new car now has automatic windows compared to the ones we used to roll down manually. Okay, you know, that's pretty cool. Yeah, a little change. I'm fine with it. Now, when you get a new car, it has so much computers on it. It has a backup camera. It has my wife and I got this new car. Well, we're renting a car. And we're driving down the highway, and it go beep beep, and we're like, "What's that?" And we're like, "What's wrong? Are oil, battery low? What's going on? What's mechanically wrong? What's the car trying to tell us?" We were too close to the car in front of us. And these are big changes for us because I never had that technology before. So changes in life aren't small, they're bigger to us. Okay. For autistic adults, these aren't only emotional events, they can also disrupt routines, sensory environments, identity, and daily structure all at once. Another thing is when we're younger and somebody passes away, and I know I use this analogy a lot, but then this is currently something going on in my life. And let's say it's an uncle. Or like when I was a kid, my grandfather passed away and he lived in California. And I was like in late elementary, maybe junior high. And I'd only seen him 2 or 3 times in my life when I was really young. Okay. I think the last time I saw him, I was 6 or 7. So I really didn't have much memory. So he passed away. Oh, sorry about that. And, sorry, Grandpa passed away. And went ahead and continued doing what I was doing. My dad got really mad at me because I did not cry. But it's like, dude, I only saw him twice in my life. Okay? And when I saw him, I was running around playing with the other kids, and he was just in the background. But now my wife passed away. That's a much deeper relationship. And we developed deeper relationships in some cases, like I did with my wife, or anyone could do with their partner or their safe person. And that's going to be a lot more emotional weight than just the regular old things that we used to deal with. And that's going to make things harder. And now, past experiences can also make the brain more protective. And this is why transitions and major changes are harder as we get older because of the fact that our past experiences are going to help guide us. What I'm trying to say is once bitten, twice shy. So if you lost somebody or had something tragic happen in your life and you're heading down a similar path, your brain's going to try to protect you from that. And that's going to make that transition even harder for you. And it shouldn't, but it does. If you had a bad experience doing it before, your brain's going to think it's going to happen again. Bada bing, bada boom. It's going to be challenging. And of course, masking can make transitions more exhausting, okay? Because masking takes a lot of energy. And the loss of automatic coping strategies can cause us challenges. Okay. We, a lot of things are done automatically. As we get older, we don't have that much automatic system. Now it takes more energy and thought to do things and transition and remember the steps we need to take, blah, blah, blah. So that's kind of why transitions and major life changes are harder as we get older. Now, question number 9, we're almost through this list. How do we rebuild our identity after discovering autism later in life? This is a very important question because most of us who are watching this video, subscribe to the channel, and this includes me, are trying to rebuild our identities after discovering that we're autistic late in life. Who are we? Who have we been? Who is the real me? I now learned I've been masking. Who am I without a mask? I masked so much in my life. How do I take it off? We go through these concerns. So, how do we rebuild our identity after discovering autism later in life? A late diagnosis often creates a period of identity reconstruction. Like I said, we ask these questions of ourselves. Who was I? Who am I now? What parts of me were autism? What parts of me were survival? What parts were genuinely me? So here are some of the steps many of us late autistic adults go through when we get that late diagnosis. Okay. It's not a thorough list, but it's something that we can chew on tonight. We can start by reinterpreting our past and thinking, okay, when I did this when I was in third grade, instead of me, and I do this, okay, instead of me being misbehaving, because I was told I had behavior problems, okay, it was more likely I was reacting to sensory overload because I realized when I went to school, if you put me in a classroom with 30 kids, I'm more likely to be in the principal's office than if I'm in a classroom with 8 or less people. And if I was one-on-one with the teacher, I never wound up in the principal's office. Just all that people around me and all that sensory caused me to act out. So that's me reinterpreting my past. Another thing that we want to do, or one of the steps we can do, or we'll go through is separating our authentic self from our mask. And I'm not going to say that I mastered that. I'm still working through that one because we learn about masking. We learn this is not good. It's not being authentically ourselves. And bada bing, bada boom. We want to figure out who our authentic self is so we don't mask because we feel like we've had to suppress that and we should be authentic like everyone else. And for many of us who are on the spectrum, at least speaking for myself, I'd rather be authentic than be somebody who I'm not because you can't carry on that fake identity forever. Another thing we go through is reframing our strengths and our challenges. And that could be looking at like many late diagnoses were taught to see certain traits as flaws. For example, we may have been told we're too sensitive. And now that may become, I have a highly responsive nervous system. In other words, a spin. Okay, we're kind of reframing who we are and our traits. Maybe we'll call it obsessive, and that may become I have deep focus and passion, or too honest, which I never understood this. Okay, too honest may become I value clarity and authenticity. I have gotten into a lot of trouble in my life because I've been too honest. People will ask me questions and I will give them the answer. And my father-in-law, I love my father-in-law. Today's father-in-law's day, by the way. It's a happy father-in-law day. I have a great father-in-law. Um, he had learned from another friend. Don't ask Chris his opinion because Chris will give it to you. Okay. um, my wife and I were engaged, and we were working with this pastor, and I was not the biggest fan of this pastor. Okay, and I was kind of standoffish and all, and he asked me, um, do you have a problem? What's going on? Do you have a problem? And I looked at him and I've learned. I already started learning because Kim had been working with me on this. Not everything that enters my mind needs to come out of my mouth. So I asked him, do you really want to know? And I told him. And he said, yeah. And I told him what was wrong. I don't remember what it was. And he went home to his wife and he said, I asked Chris why he's so distant or whatever, right? Well, what happened? And she said, well, what happened? He told me. And apparently the pastor did not like my answer. But his wife said, you told her to be honest. Do you expect him to lie to you? So you may not like his answer. You know, I believe in being very honest and blunt, and I know that gets me into trouble. In fact, I know from working in radio, people would say, are you British? Because I can be so flippin' blunt at times. And I love how the British do stuff. I mean, I think it's wonderful how they do it. And I told my wife, I would love to go to Britain someday because I would blend in so well. You ever seen the movie The Out of Towners? with John Cleese in it, and they were at the front desk. And one of the hotel employees came out and he looked at her and he said, "Is that a new haircut?" She nodded. He said, "You may want to work in the back for a while." How they can make an insult sound like a compliment. I love that. I'd like to master that. But yeah, I love being totally honest with people. But I've learned you can't be too honest because it puts people off. Okay. Another thing that we can do is start being allowing ourselves to be authentic without apologizing. Just be yourself. No need to apologize. You know, as long as what we do and not breaking any actual criminal law, if it's part of a stem or whatever, do it. Okay, I don't see a problem with that. If the more of us who do that, the more people will be forced to become aware of autism and can make this a better place for every one of us that's on the spectrum. And five, building a future based on your actual needs. That is one thing I'm working on. Now that my wife passed away, I love my wife. I miss her dearly, but she could thrive in clutter. I can't. I cannot handle clutter. So I'm building my life. I'm redesigning my house and everything to make it what I call autism friendly, where it supports my neurodiverseness, where I a space where I can be creative and creative and spaces that are not that cluttered, so I can just be myself. And that's something we can do. Excuse me. And of course, finding our autistic community. Many late diagnosed autistic adults experience a powerful moment when they say to themselves, maybe they've seen the community, a post on social media, a video like this one, and they say to themselves, there are other people like me. Connecting with other autistic adults can reduce the feeling of being alone and provide language for experiences that were difficult to explain before. And number 10, what does living confidently autistic look like as we age? Now, you often hear me say, you know, we want to live confidently autistic, and I'm going to break this down a little bit tonight. I'll probably do a separate video on this later, but living confidently autistic as we age means this: moving from how do I keep up with everyone else to how do I create a life that works with my brain or with my autism. And here are some ways this can look, how we can do this, okay? Knowing ourselves instead of fighting ourselves. Instead of saying, you know what, I really don't like the fact that I'm always playing with a needle ball and all because nobody else does that. Hey, it will say, I know I do this because this is a form of stimming. It helps me self-regulate when I'm in anxiety. There's nothing wrong with it, okay? Choose authenticity over constant masking. Be yourself, okay? All right. And yeah, it's going to repel some people, but it's going to draw the people who really you need in your life, okay? It is. When I started dating, I was low vision. Well, I still am low vision. I had a white cane. And it did get me turned down by a lot of girls. And I will be honest with you, that hurt. Okay. But Kimberly, it didn't turn her off. Okay. It did not. And she accepted me for who I was. And when I had my incomplete spinal cord injury, unfortunately, in the physical disabled community, something like that does end relationships, marriages, okay, for various reasons. Sometimes it's the other person who's not disabled can't handle it. Sometimes the person who is disabled becomes a jerk or they have trouble accepting it, whatever. And we're not going to get into all those reasons. But I never worried about her leaving me because she accepted me with my white cane. I did not hide that from her. I did not mask that. And she stood by my side the 5 weeks I was in hospital recovering before I can come home after that injury. So be your authentic self. Yes, it will repel some people, but it's going to attract the people who are going to be with you through the good times and the bad. course, you can build a life around your energy, not just your abilities. I think I'm doing that a little bit. I have a lot of energy. You see that in the videos. I used to do radio. I wanted to be in radio. So I have this energy when you put me in front of a microphone, bada boom. And I'm building my life. I'm building the channel around my energy, okay? Advocating for your needs. No one knows your needs better than you. And you have a right to have your needs and accommodations, assuming they're reasonable, to be met. And you need to speak up for yourself. I know it's hard for some of us on the spectrum. Yeah, I know my wife would speak up for me at times because she could tell by looking at me, Chris has had enough. He can't do it. Okay. But you do need to advocate for your needs. Also, create support before you desperately need it. Or creating support before you desperately need it. Like, getting to know somebody and on, and eventually that person becomes a safe person. And then when you're in a crisis, that person with you, they already know what's going on. They can help you because you created that support, that relationship before you desperately needed it. It took years. When Kim and I first started dating, uh, I'm definitely afraid of needles, and that really embarrassed her. But as she got to know me more, and we realized I was on the spectrum and all, she understood it. And then going forward, the last few years of our life together, when I had to get a needle, I would advocate for myself, and she would also help advocate if people were not listening to me. Because I created that support, that um, um, I'm freaking out on a word right now. That safe person relationship. That's it, with her. And that benefited me when I desperately needed it, when I had to go in for medical procedures that have a needle. Of course, obviously, celebrate your autistic identity. Be proud of it. Wear t-shirts that say autism on it. I don't have it on right now, but wear a bracelet that says autism awareness. I just got a new bracelet here. It's on my desk. I haven't put it together yet, but it's a little bracelet that tells people that I have autism, that I'm definitely afraid of needles and stuff like that. That if a first responder finds me and I cannot communicate, it communicates for me. Don't be ashamed to wear that kind of stuff. If people don't like you because you're autistic, they're really not going to like you. If you mask and you guys become really close friends, then your mask comes off and you show your real self, and that person's going to feel like you lied to them. You betrayed their friendship. And that's going to hurt you more because you have invested in that friendship. Just be yourself, okay? So celebrate your own autistic identity. And obviously, always continue to grow. Continue to grow. Whatever you're doing, just continue to grow, because we are here to become better versions of ourselves. So let me take a quick peek at the chat here before we move on tonight. Let's see. Um, okay. Definitely feel the impact of noise more than I did. I no. Okay. All right. I don't see anything new in here, but I don't know if the chat froze or something. So I don't know. I'm gonna type something in here. Uh, let's type in hello, see if that works. Okay. And okay. Oh, I know who that is. Tony. Thank you for checking this out. Happy belated birthday, by the way, Tony. I know his birthday was the other day. Tony and I are friends, and all. And I hope the weather's nice in California. It's hot here in Missouri. But what's the weather like there? And I hope you had a great time at the OI conference you were at. So, and he has a wonderful channel. If you're into uh, um, getting fit, exercising, eating healthy, all the things I don't do, go and see Tony, okay? Because he's good at that stuff. But remember, I do have my own exercise program. I do my own crunches. Nestle crunches, but I do my own crunches. So I'm doing my own exercise thing my own way. Okay, so if you have any questions, pop them in now. If not, we're going to wrap this up because we're running a little bit late tonight. There's so much packed in, and I only touched the surface of this. I'm going to be doing deep dive videos on all 10 of these questions later. But if this live stream or video resonated with you, do me a huge favor. Hit like so more people can find this video. Share this for someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel for more conversations like this. Now, the Confident Autistic Live is going to be taking a little break. Yes, not the whole channel, just the Confident Autistic Live. Let me get this up here. I gotta do this. Here we go. There we go. And do that. Okay. So we're gonna be taking a little break. The Confident Autistic Live is taking a summer break and will return in September. Now, even though the Confident Autistic Live is, I thought I heard some noise in the house. Never mind. Is taking a break. That does not mean I will not be putting new videos up on the channel. I will be doing that throughout the month of August. Now, next week, I'm taking a week off. I won't be putting up any videos until August 10th. Because a lot of stuff's going on in my life. I lost my cat, so I got a little bit behind in production. So I'm going to use next week. For you guys, it looks like I'm off, but I'm going to be getting caught up and ahead on production. But anyway, that's a personal problem of my own. But we will be back in September. Okay. So I want to thank everyone for joining me tonight. I I appreciate your time, and I hope you all have a very safe and happy weekend. And be looking for new videos on the channel. There's going to be one tomorrow. I know I said it last 2 weeks. I really mean it, because last couple of weeks been wacky. Last Friday, I started noticing my cat was not feeling well. It is what it is when we lost a cat. But I'm going to have a new video tomorrow. Then we'll be putting new videos up starting August 10th, and we'll be coming back in September right after Labor Day with another The Confident Autistic live stream on a Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Time. That's going to be September 10th. Yeah, I can do the dates quickly. Well, anyway, I have a system to that. But anyway, so thank you so much for joining me tonight. Let's see, we have one more comment that came in here. Okay, yeah. Well, thank you, Tony. Yeah. The cat was another connection to Kimberly. So anyway, thank you all for joining. Keep an eye on the channel. And there may be some surprises coming up in the month of August. So you're going to want to make sure you subscribe and hit that notification button. So until then, this is the Confident Autistic telling you that I appreciate your support of the channel. I sincerely do. And I want you to go out there and live confidently autistic.